Hello, wanted to show everybody how the campsite is progressing. First off, you can notice it's off of a main road, so it's very easy to get into with any size camper. There is your welcome sign there, and I'm going to take you on a little trip all through the campground. It's going to be a fairly long video. I'll try to splice it a little bit to make it a little shorter, but I'm gonna crank up and show everybody the area. So as you're entering the campground, I've actually got a guest staying here already. That person is in our site number one. Site number one is full hookups. It's got 50 amp, 30 amp service, and of course a 20 amp. As you enter the campground, you have a keypad there for the code to get into the gate. You've got a remote here, so I'm going to use it. It's an automatic gate. Like I said, this is site one, is right here. It's a 60 by 40 slab. This entire area is all fenced in. So if you've got dogs, small children, they can roam this entire front area. It's a little over an acre that they can go through without any issues at all. That's just a storage building where I keep my extra stuff. And over here I've got my vehicle parked here. But this is site number two. Site number two is a 16 by 32 level crushed gravel. It's got water and 50 amp and 30 amp and of course 110 plug. This does not have a septic hookup. It's a small gate there for if you want to exit and just kind of walk some of the trails. That's one of the two gates. This is the pavilion. The guest that's here right now has got his smoker here, but the pavilion has fans, lights, and a charcoal grill that's there all the time. It's a 20 by 20 covered, and there's spotlights all around, so it'll light up this entire area if you need to. Right over here is the fire pit. That's in front of the site number two. Site number one. And now I'm going to take you on some of the trails in the back. The trails are marked, so you can see the trail signs. So just going to take you on a quick trip down some of the trails and show you what's back here. We'll come up that area back there a little later. Once again, if you would have exited out of the campground out of that small gate, you would be coming right up this hill right here. You can probably see the barn in the background, and right there, you go in the other side, there's the sign for the lake and the range. A lot of the roads here you could do with a just a regular two-wheel drive truck. Probably wouldn't do it in a small car. Four-wheel drive could be a little better. This is the lake and the range. I'll take you down to circle the path path for the range first, and then at the very end I'll go ahead and open the gates for the range. It's not totally completed. It's going to be covered, so it'll have a 18 by 18 covered pavilion with custom shooting benches. Right now the backstops are in a 15-yard, a 50-yard, and a 100-yard backstop. Those are all complete, just the covered area is not complete yet. So that's the sign indicating where the range is. It's on down that road. A little bit later I'll come through and I'll unhook that, and we'll drive all the way through there. But we're going to head back to that first main road and go to the lake. You'll probably notice there's a lot of trails, a lot of different trails that you can take here. They all will end up, if there's not a sign, such as like that trail here, it's a walking trail. So if they're not marked, basically it lets you know that it will eventually circle back around to a main road that is marked with signs. So you can't get lost. As long as you keep walking in one direction, you'll eventually come out to a main road again, and that'll lead you, to the signs that let you know to go back to the lake and all that. So this is that main road. If we had continued, if I hadn't turned earlier, would have come on down this way. Next, I'm going to take you by the game feeder. This is a trail cam. That's one of several that are on the property. So I get pictures of the deer, raccoons, squirrels, coyotes. I've had bobcats that I catch coming through here. There's another trail cam here that I monitor the deer. Got a really nice looking 6-point buck that came through here feeding. I don't have the property set up for hunting yet. I may or may not in the future, but for right now, just mainly feeding the game to kind of give them a safe area to go to during hunting season, so at least they can come over here and still get food. That feeder goes off every morning very early, and in the camera there I'll catch tons of wildlife feeding off of the corn and the grain that comes out of the feeder. So we're going to continue on down to the lake first. Once again, you notice there was no signage, so that means that's the main road. So everything always circles back to this main road. Heading straight that way, kind of goes over a very steep hill. It's great for ATVs, but definitely would not do that in a vehicle. I can actually take you down it. This is all gravelled, and the only problem is if you're here and it just rained, that gravel can be slick. But I'll go ahead and take you down this path. As you can see, it's pretty steep. You would not definitely want to do this with a truck, but with an ATV, no issues. There's a little bit of a path up there that takes you down below the dam of the pond, and you can see the drop-off. The drop-off's probably a good 30 feet on the dam. We'll circle back around that. As you notice, there's a lot more trails. Here we are at the pond. small boat there with some paddles for guests to use. There's a ladder there in case someone decides to fall in the water. They can get out, but that's the lake. The feeder, there's a fish feeder there. It goes off late afternoon, and you'll see all the fish and lots of turtles coming up eating the fish food. Next year I'm going to add some more bluegill and some bass in here. The guests that's staying here right now said that they caught several bass and hooked a really large one, but didn't get to bring it in, but caught several smaller bass. So covered dock, those lights can come on, can be turned on at night if you want to sit down here and have a little bit of lighting. Just relax. Of an evening, especially in the cooler months, there is a great breeze. We're kind of down in a valley, and there's a really nice breeze that goes over the pond, and even at night in the summertime, it can get a little chilly down here because of the water temperature. That is a spring-fed lake, or a big pond, whatever you want to call it. It is spring-fed, and the water is fairly cool to the touch. So we'll head on down this trail. Ducks that I put out there to attract some other ducks. Some decoys. Once again, we're kind of still on the main road that circles. So this is pointing a sign that shows you if we head straight, we go down towards the creek. And there's actually, you can cross the creek right down here. And then this trail up here is a ATV only trail. This will brings us back up towards the top. I don't think there's any way you'd get that with a vehicle, maybe a Jeep, four-wheel drive Jeep, but you'd never make that with a regular vehicle. It's some pretty good ruts in there, but a lot of fun for those of you who have ATVs. I'm just gonna go down here a little bit and follow the creek trail. And once again, if you have ATVs out here, I mean, really good. You can see the creek down here. Small creek, but it is spring fed, and got a bunch of limbs that I cut yesterday. So you can see the water down there. That is all a spring fed, and found the entrance to the spring. It gets bigger as it goes on up throughout the woods, but I don't have a trail yet going to it. But you can probably tell it gets a little bigger because the main spring is up probably another 400 yards up the creek, is where the spring starts coming out, and it's really nice, clear, cold water. Eventually I'd like to get a trail that goes on and follows the creek. So it's probably going to be this trail right here. Kind of have started it, but still need to finish it. Cut some trees and things like that. This is just a very short little trail. But if you want to get down there and somebody wants to, you know, kids sometimes play in the water a little bit or whatever. It's a nice cool water year round there. Go ahead and cross the creek, and As you can see, if somebody came up here and brought ATVs, there would be a lot of areas that you could get around. Now this down here is actually where the spring starts, and I'm going to eventually try to clear a little bit more of a path down there to it. But the creek is actually quite large right down there, but you can't see it because there's so much overgrowth. Wintertime, when there's not as much greenery, you can see it pretty good. So we're going to continue on down this road. As you can see, once again, these roads are really good for an ATV, but would not be good for a vehicle. But they're good walking paths. Definitely, if somebody wants to do some hiking, you can get your exercise in for the day. This right here, if I ever put a deer stand in, this might be the location. Somewhere around to here, because that way you're seeing down the hill towards the creek. So I'm going to do, have not finished all the trails out here yet. There's, you can see the growth is pretty thick. So it took a while just to clear out these trails here that I'm driving. But there's, the property goes on up probably another 8 acres towards the back. And you can, there's another dirt mining road that's up there, is where the border of the property is, and eventually I'll end up getting that, getting a trail all the way up to that. So maybe sometime in a cooler month or something. Trail that I'm going down here, eventually I'd like to widen it a little bit. But for people who like nature, can't get much more deep in the woods than this. A lot of times I'm down these creeks, especially of a morning or late of an evening, and you'll see a deer jump across in front of you. That right through here is actually where I need to finish clearing. That used to be a logging trail when someone had mined pine trees, had cut pine trees, but that circles on probably another 100 yards up there and then turns to the right, and you get more of a, then you get a little more of an open road at that point that you can circle back around. So at some point I want to clear that area as well. So now we're going to start descending. We're up on a hill. You can probably see, if you look, if I can get it, you can probably see the pond way down there. That we're in the back area of the pond. A lot of little bushes with the berries on them. A lot of animals like to come up and eat that. Over here to the side is another creek. This creek actually goes to the back of the pond, so this doesn't feed into the pond. That's just a regular runoff creek. When it rains, it goes into the creek that is behind the pond, that you can see from that trail I showed earlier. So that one is not spring fed, but that also does not enter into the pond. Another trail that we've been kind of slowly working on to circle the back area of the pond to clean out a few additional areas for fishing. But as you can see from the steep banks here, it's definitely not something you could bring a vehicle back here. So here we are in the back of the pond area. There's the dock. That blue out there is actually a cap for the spillway, so that large debris doesn't get caught up in it. But there's enough water coming into the pond that the water constantly overflows. Even when there's no rain at all, it's because of the spring. I'll try to, here in a little bit, we'll be up towards part of the dam, and I'll try to show you if we can see it. Probably going to be really hard to see down there, but that creek that drops off. I can kind of see water right through that area down there. That's from the overflow. The overflow pipe probably is a good 30-foot straight drop once we get over where the bushes are. So it's like I said, wintertime you can see it very clearly because there's not this amount of greenery through here. Another sign here for the range and the lake, kind of points everybody in the right direction. Also a warning sign there. That's so that everyone knows not to cross that boundary, because on down that road you would actually be down range of the firing range. So just for safety, I've got that blocked off. But we'll come up to the back of it. So I'll go up another one of the trails here in a minute that we haven't been on yet. All these trails kind of circle around. But this is a trail that we haven't been on yet in this video. Trail we went on earlier. And then that trail right there, had I not turned a while ago, we would have come straight up to that. So I'm going to come up here and go ahead and unhook this. Property goes on back that way till the larger trees. kind of there. There's a fence on the other side of the larger trees, so we're still not on the edge of the property, so we can still build some more trails and stuff through here. So this is the road that will be for the range. A little bit of more of a clearing where it's a little wider here. This is going to end up being the covered area. The first backstop that you see, whenever we build the covered area, we're actually going to invert it, meaning take the posts that are on the right and move them over equal distance to the left, so that one gets over. When this got built, it's a little bit too much of a block for the 100-yard range, and I wanted to open up the 100-yard range a little more to where both of the stands, if I'm at this angle, you can kind of see all three of them. But I want to move, if I move that one over about 5 feet, clear a couple of trees, that will give you a chance from either one of the shooting benches that'll be here. You'll be able to target practice to either to all three of them. First one will be mainly a pistol backstop. We'll probably put some of the targets, shooting targets where somebody wants to practice. That is going to be exactly 50 yards from where it's marked from the front of the covered area. So I have a rangefinder and made it exactly precise. The 100-yard range is a little thicker because I designed it to where if somebody wants to shoot a heavier caliber, like a 50 caliber, they won't have any issues. There's cross ties with timbers, and then it's full of dirt as well. So nothing's going to go through that, so that's completely safe. Plus, it's coming downhill, and anything, if someone was to miss, the pond is way over that direction, so there's nothing here but trees, and it's heading downhill. It's all on the property, so it would be completely safe. There would be no way for anyone to ever be behind it. This road that I'm taking on right now, this is the one that comes into the back area. Backside of that thing that says that you're going to be downrange. So that actually concludes the trails that are all done, and the sites. So you saw there was site one. There's 2 sites. You can look it up for in Baker Hill, Alabama, which is just right outside of Eufaula. I believe Airbnb shows it as Baker Hill, and Hipcamp shows it as Eufaula. If you want to look it up, if you're ever wanting to rent, and if you've seen this video, then and you find it online, shoot me a message in the video in the comments, and let me know what you think, and if you're interested in staying. Then for my subscribers, I'll give an additional discount for staying here. But when you do stay here, you can rent either of the sites. For people who rent more than 2 weeks at a time, so more than 14 days, I block off the other site. So if you rent site 1, which is the full hookups, which is most likely what you would do if you were going to be here for 14 days, so that you'd have septic connection. If someone does book for 2 weeks, I go ahead and block off the other site if it has not been booked. That way you have the entire place to yourself. And once again, you do have a powered gate up there that makes the area very secure. You're right off of a main road to where it's very easy to get in. Very easy for you to get in and out with a large camper. And then at that point, you're free to walk all through the trails, or if you bring your ATVs, with you, then lots of areas to ride, and of course bring your fishing equipment, because there's a lot of pretty good bass in there, and beginning next year there'll be even more. All right, well, once again, thanks for listening and watching the video. All right, forgot to show the ATV only trail. As you can see, this has a lot of big ruts. We'll take the easy way around. But for those of you who have the ATVs that are serious off-road ATVs, this would be a great road for you. Yesterday when I topped this hill, had a couple of deer run across, but that was closer to nighttime. That I cleared out. And I think going right through here, by knocking a couple of trees down, I think I can connect to that other road where the animal feeder was. I think that's where that might connect to, but I'll have to take the drone up and get a visual on it before we start the work. But it'd be nice to be able to connect that road too, because the more paths you have, the more animals tend to follow the paths, and you'll be able to see them a little more. So here we are at the top of the hill. Here's the main road going back into the campground. So that was all. Just gonna show everybody the ATV trail. So I'll go ahead and sign off, and hope everybody enjoyed the new tour.